The restaurant buzzed with laughter and clinking glasses, but not all the laughter was kind. At a corner table, a group of well-dressed diners exchanged smirks every time their waitress passed by. Her faded uniform and worn-out shoes were the perfect punchline to their cruel jokes. What they didn't know was that beneath the humble apron was a woman with power far beyond their imagination. She wasn't just a waitress. She was the CEO of the very company they idolized, living a day in disguise for reasons they could never predict. And tonight, their judgment would come back to haunt them. The smell of roasted garlic and butter drifted through the elegant restaurant as Emily adjusted her plain black apron and carried a tray to table 7. She had taken a deep breath before entering the dining hall, reminding herself why she was here. It wasn't about the money, and it certainly wasn't about experience. This was personal. She wanted to see the world from the other side, to understand the struggles of those who served her company every single day. Emily was the CEO of a national restaurant chain, but today she wore no designer suits or high heels, just a simple uniform, hair tied in a modest ponytail, and no makeup except a touch of lip balm. Most of the staff didn't know who she was. The general manager had been informed, but he kept his distance, watching quietly from the sidelines. As she approached the table of 4 in the corner, she immediately sensed the judgment in their eyes. They were dressed to impress, the kind of people who carried themselves like they owned the world. The man at the head of the table glanced at her name tag and chuckled softly. "Emily, ha! Couldn't afford new shoes, Emily," he said, pointing at the scuffed edges of her black flats. The others at the table laughed, trying to stifle their snickers behind crystal glasses of wine. Emily smiled politely, ignoring the sting of their words. "What can I get for you tonight?" she asked, keeping her tone warm and professional. "Champagne," the woman with diamond earrings said, tilting her head smugly. "And make sure it's the expensive one, not that you'd know the difference." More laughter erupted. Emily wrote down the order without a word, but inside she felt the familiar fire of injustice. These weren't just random customers. She recognized them from business circles, entrepreneurs who prided themselves on their humble beginnings. How ironic! As the night went on, their mockery continued. Every time she returned to the table, there was another snide comment about her uniform, her plain hair, or the way she spoke. Emily kept her composure, reminding herself that this experience mattered. But what none of them realized was that everything was being recorded. Not by cameras, but by the very people around them. Other guests noticed. Some frowned in disapproval. The staff whispered in the kitchen, shocked by the disrespect. And then came the moment that would change everything. Emily walked into the kitchen to grab the bottle of champagne they had ordered. The bartender gave her a sympathetic smile. "You okay?" "They're brutal," she shrugged. "Just doing my job," she said, forcing a grin. But inside, she was making mental notes. As she poured the champagne into crystal flutes at their table, one of the men leaned back and said, "You know, sweetheart, if you worked a little harder, maybe you wouldn't be stuck serving drinks for a living." The word sweetheart made her stomach twist, but she smiled anyway. "I'll keep that in mind, sir." "Oh, and hurry up with our entries. We don't have all night." Another chimed in, waving her off like she was invisible. Emily walked back to the kitchen, this time feeling the weight of her decision. Going undercover had been meant to open her eyes to the struggles of her staff, but now she was witnessing something uglier. The casual cruelty people show when they think someone has less power. The head chef noticed her clenched fists. "You sure you're good?" "Yeah," she said, though her voice lacked conviction. "Just learning a lot tonight." By the time she returned with their food, their laughter had grown louder, their confidence swelling with each glass of wine. They didn't just mock her now, they made jokes about the entire staff, calling them lazy, uneducated beneath them. Emily set the plates down gently, then stood still for a second. Something inside her snapped, not in anger but in resolve. She would finish this shift, and then she would teach them a lesson they'd never forget. She smiled, her voice calm as silk. "Enjoy your meal." The man who first insulted her smirked. "Thanks, Emily. Don't forget to bring the check quickly. We don't want to keep you from whatever it is you do when you're not waiting tables." "Oh." "Don't worry," she said softly. "I'll make sure you get exactly what you deserve." They laughed again, oblivious to the meaning behind her words. Closing time approached, and the laughter from table 7 finally died down. The group leaned back in their chairs, full and satisfied, still basking in their self-importance. "Check, sweetheart," the man said, snapping his fingers. Emily walked over calmly, holding a sleek black leather folder. Inside wasn't just the bill. It was something far more shocking. She placed it on the table with a polite smile and stepped back. The man opened it and froze. Instead of a check, there was a personalized note on official company letterhead. It read, "Dear guests, thank you for dining with us tonight. I deeply appreciate your feedback and observations about my appearance and work ethic. I will certainly consider your suggestions as I continue to manage and grow this company, since I am, in fact, the CEO. Please contact my office tomorrow to discuss your conduct, as it violates our customer code of ethics. Your membership privileges are hereby suspended. Signed, Emily Carter, CEO." The man's face turned pale. The women gasped audibly. Silence spread across the table like wildfire. Emily stood there, no longer the quiet, humble waitress they thought they knew. She removed her apron, revealing the elegant blouse beneath, and let her voice carry authority. "I believe you all have a lot to reflect on. My team works hard to serve every guest with dignity, and they deserve the same in return." The group stumbled over apologies, their arrogance crumbling like dry leaves. But Emily didn't linger to hear them. She turned and walked toward the kitchen, where the staff had gathered, wide-eyed and grinning. "That was incredible," the bartender whispered. Emily smiled. "No one should ever be ashamed of honest work," she said. "Not in my company. Not ever." As the guests slinked out of the restaurant in silence, Emily felt a deep sense of clarity. She had come undercover to learn, but instead she had taught a lesson that money could never buy respect. And that night, the story of the Waitress CEO spread like wildfire, becoming a reminder to everyone that titles may change, but character is what truly defines a person.